Hey, am I audible?
Yes, Anuj. Hi, how are you?
I am doing very well. How are you doing?
Good, good. I think we'll just give it a
Uh,
couple of minutes before everyone joins in, and then we
yeah,
can
yeah,
get.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I just so in case there is any disruption, you can always call me. You have my mobile number.
I'll do that, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know. Can everyone see my screen?
Not yet. Yes, all good.
Mhm. Okay. While we do this, how many people? Oh, yeah, quite a lot of people. Okay, how many of you are AI founders? I assume most of you are. Right? I just want to make sure that I get the audience right.
I
Sorry, can
think
we have a quick show of hands or something like that? Okay, okay, okay. Still see a lot of hands not there. This is gonna be a good 2.5 hour class. So feel free to go grab a coffee, tea, snacks, water. Now is the time.
Anuj, I'll just quickly set the context and then hand it over to you, and then we can
Yeah, yeah,
get,
please, 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 absolutely. Go ahead.
yeah, maybe just a minute or so. We had about close to 230 people register, so
Yeah.
I think we can get started. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for this really exciting masterclass that we have with Anuj. Before I hand it over to him to lead this masterclass, I'll just quickly introduce Anuj. He has over 2 decades of experience leading AI efforts at both startups and Fortune 50 companies. He's been a fraction led for a bunch of startups across US, Europe, and India as well. He's also written a book called Natural Language Processing, which is a landmark book in AI that has been endorsed by leaders across DeepMind, Google AI, and Meta. So super excited for him to cover this very pertinent topic on avoiding mistakes for AI founders. So I think, Anuj, over to you to kick this off.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, and welcome everyone. Thank you for taking out time. I will just set broad context. This is gonna be about a lot of pragmatic tips on how do you build AI systems that lead to large business outcome, right? Uh, I'll spend maybe some time on my background. Introduced, I've been doing AI for good last 20 years. I've built AI systems in all shapes, sizes, 0 to 1 startups, late stage startups, some of the largest organizations, Fortune 50s. A lot of my work has thankfully led to a lot of revenue and large business outcomes, including funding rounds, acquisition, and IPO. I recently mentored a YC company where we built a bunch of critical systems. We improved them to bring the cost by 95%. This was demoed to Sam Altman and Vinod Khosla, leading to Series B by Khosla Ventures for that particular startup. I've led AI efforts at one of the earliest startups in India, probably to be funded for its AI first approach. The reason I'm spending 2 minutes on my background is you see a lot of this has to do with the tips that you will see across next 2.5 hours, right? So just giving a sense of where do I come from and where do a lot of these tips come from, right? So now I work with a lot of founders, VCs across the ecosystem in US, Europe, and India, whereby I work as a principal advisor and help them get AI right. For me, AI right is not just building models, saying that it has 90% accuracy, 95% accuracy, and all of that. All of these are means to an end, and the end is all about building solid businesses, right? So for me, outcomes means large revenues or market dominance, at least one of the two. Okay, these are some of the logos that I've been associated with in my journey. Like I said, this was one of the high moments for us just a couple of months back. This was the acquisition that I was talking about. You can read more about it on the web. Right, we were largely acquired for our AI first capabilities. Uh, the book is primarily about how do you build AI products when you're part of product teams as opposed to research labs. Thankfully, the book has been translated in 5 languages, more than 250 citations. More than 50 universities globally are using this book for their AI curriculum. Recently, the book was put in the same league as the work of Thomas Wolfram, Hugging Face, and Sebastian Redshaw. We have been lucky to be endorsed by some of the biggest names coming from Carnegie Mellon, UCSD, DeepMind, Cohere, Microsoft Research, Airbnb, Google AI, and many more. Okay, broad uh, contours of this, right? Whenever I will talk about Gen AI, I will talk about AI and Gen AI. I will use these terms interchangeably. For me, there's not a difference between the two. Gen AI is just a subset of AI, right? A lot of the tips, a lot of the points that I'll be talking about are applicable if AI is the very DNA of your product. It's not a varnish, right? You're not putting out a lot of PR and all that so that you can sell or you can raise rounds and all that. No, right? If you don't get AI right, then the very value proposition that you're offering falls apart, right? This is meant for AI products and applications, not if you're doing foundational research trying to advance the very uh, AI fundamentals itself, right? So if you are a deep mind or maybe even I would say open AI, a lot of this stuff might not be applicable. But if you're anybody who is largely building things on top, right, building products, building applications that can lead to markets, this is meant for you. There's not going to be any code, any maths in this, right? This is all about lots and lots of things that a lot of founders that I've seen across my journey over the last 20 years get wrong. And that's what I'm going to be sharing about. So the objective is for you, the objective has to be not just to build models, but AI that drives large business outcomes, then this is applicable for you, right? Again, this is primarily from the point of view of founders. You're going to see a lot of stuff which is maybe even contrary to the popular narrative that you might have heard in, especially in the last 2 years. A lot of people have joined the bandwagon in last 2 years, right? But some of us have been lucky enough to have been doing this for over 2 decades, right? And what I'm going to share is a lot of wisdom from that whole narrative. Don't hold your questions. You have a question, just unmute and ask because I might not have the visibility to the hands raised, right? Let's make it super interactive. It will be good if a lot of you can turn on your videos. I don't know if you can, but that will help me a lot. For a speaker, the best thing could be seeing a lot of faces, bright and shiny faces. I'm gonna take a minute.
We're doing this on webinar mode, Anuj, so video won't be possible.
Okay.
But we
Okay.
do have a Q&A box that folks can use to send in their questions, and I can keep an eye on that and send it your way.
Sure. Sure. So as in when a question is there, you can stop me and you can ask, right? Please.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have already had a quick show of hand. I assume most of you are founders who have set up AI companies, right? And let's get started. Okay, so quick, again, we all know this, right? AI has become big. It will continue to become big, right? Nothing to repeat here. At the same point of time, right? And all of this started with the GPT movement that happened in November of 22, right? When for the first time people saw uh, NLP systems that can really understand and talk at a similar level as I won't say same, but to a good extent, similar to a human being. With all that hoopla that started in, right? The fact still remains that a very few number of efforts are seeing ROI, right? This is one survey that I got from MIT, whereby 86% of the models built are not even going in production. 8 out of 10 organizations haven't seen any ROI. At the same time, what we also have are scenarios where when companies, if not doing AI early enough, they are losing markets, they are losing dominance. We have seen what has happened to Czech. There was a recent article how Intel has gone down, given it has been slow. There was an article in Bloomberg, I think 3 weeks back, which talks of Samsung losing close to $133 billion market capitalization over last 4 months because it is seen slow in AI. There are companies that have come up literally in last 2 years and have already seen massive growth in their valuation. I'm not saying valuation is the only metric, but it's just an early indicator, right? Or even if you see how the Nvidias of the world has gone out. And this is not just for companies, even for countries. We know if there is a power of corridor today, one of the topics being discussed is AI. So that's how crucial this is. Despite all this, the the big question is where is the goddamn ROI, right? These are some articles. I'm sure some of you would have read them. If you were to ask me what is wrong and describe that in one picture, I would say this. Everybody is trying to go after the price based on the model itself and giving a damn to every and anything in the path, right? The example that I use, so I can also conduct a lot of workshop for CXOs, VCs, and startup founders. Uh, Two examples I can give. One is a very Indian example, I'll say. Uh, Anybody here who has been a fan of biryani would know that mixing rice and chicken does not make a biryani. These are two very important ingredients of a non-vegetarian biryani. Let me be more specific. But mixing two does not make a biryani itself. You need lot of small spices that need to be put in the right amounts. That is when it comes together to create a biryani. Otherwise, what you're offering is a palau, which maybe sells for 100 rupees a plate, not for 500 rupees a plate like a biryani. An alternative way, if you are a somebody not from India, engine is a very important aspect of an aeroplane. Without an engine, we all know an aeroplane cannot fly. But you can't just be over obsessed with engine. You cannot strap your flyer. You yourself will not take a flight which is just an engine, right? Imagine Indigo tomorrow straps a chair to an engine and asks you to fly off. You're not going to fly off. In order to build a successful plane, you need a cockpit, you need wings, you need the landing gear, you need the fuselage, you need 400,000 other parts that need to be right. That is when an aeroplane comes together and a customer plays from going from place A to place B for which you need an aeroplane. A customer does not pay for the most jazzy engine in the world. Okay. What a lot of companies think AI look like, what it actually looks like, and I will touch upon some of these aspects, right? Now, does this mean that the ROI itself does not exist? There could be a possibility. However, if you look carefully, like I said, there are a couple of companies that are absolutely killing it with AI, right? Most of their projects move business leaders, most AI systems are pioneers, most AI teams in these organizations produce significant ROI, right? And today there might be a list of maybe 50, 60 such companies that are absolutely going with it. A large number of them, on the other hand, are struggling, right? Most AI projects are just vanity metrics. They never move any business needle. Most AI systems are rules, basic models. There's nothing wrong in building basic systems, but the point I want to highlight is their reality is often very different from the PR, right? Most early AI teams in these organizations seldom produce, right? So one can always ask the question, what is that these top 50, 60, 70 companies are doing right that the others are not? And the answer or why there is a chasm between the two, the chasm is because when you are building AI systems in industry, not academia, not research labs, I'm not talking about that. Often model is only 10% of the game. Building successful AI systems require a lot more, and that is often the 90% of the time, right? Unfortunately, there's this model first narrative that is being pushed across by crazy by a couple of tech giants because they need adoption. Because unless people adopt, they are not going to try their models. Unless people try their models, the fallacies of their models won't necessarily come, right? What is missing today is what I call as AI maturity. What is AI maturity? AI maturity is understanding that often in most AI projects in industry, model is not more than 10% of the time. In order to get business outcomes, you need to get the other 90% right. Based on my own journey, I have split this 90% into four pillars, into 35 ingredients across four pillars: technology, people, processes, and economics. And we're going to see some aspects in some of these pillars today, right? I cannot cover all of this. This entire thing that I just spoke of, these 35 ingredients, is almost like a 2 week worth of material, maybe. Right? Today we only have 2 hours. I'm gonna look at some very critical aspects that teams often get right, especially early stage companies, 0 to 1, who are either in ideation or who have done an ideation but have just got off the block. Okay, so let's start with the core material. Any questions so far? That was the broad context, both on me, on the background, and what this workshop is going to be, or this masterclass is going to be. I'm going to take a pause. Any questions so far?
Anush, there's a question from Pushpak on you've mentioned outcome, you'll be looking at market dominance and large revenue, but what about bottom line?
See, again, because this is for early stage startups, right? Bottom line comes much later. Typically, founders look for at least market dominance to begin with, not even revenue. But all of this matters, right? As you keep on growing, bottom line also matters, eventually all the way up to PNL, right? I can do any amount of AI, and one of the best examples I can give you is Alexa. Alexa by Amazon was conceived almost 15 years back. One of the best teams in speech technology. They almost poached the entire team from Nuance, right? Way ahead of its time. 95% of the Alexa team was fired last year. The reason? They built a great product, but it could not move the business needle. The objective of Alexa wasn't, hey, Alexa, play this. What is the weather outside? What should I clothing I should wear? The fundamental purpose of Alexa was, would a lot of people use it to order online on Amazon.com? Will it become the go-to interface in order to order on Amazon.com? So it was supposed to be that interface that will power large business of Amazon.com, right? No matter how great a product you build, that's the point I want to drive across with Alexa. If you do not move the business needle, it's a liability. And at some point of time, if you're a large organization, your business team will take a call. If you're an early phase startup, the VC will take a call, somebody or the other who really bothers about business, because that is what we are all here for. We are here to create ventures, multi-billion dollar, if not, and multi-million dollar, if not multi-billion dollar companies. Right?
Anuj, we can't seem to hear you.
Uh, Sorry, I
Yes.
think I dropped out in the middle. Sorry for that. I don't know. I didn't realize. Did I answer the question?
I think we lost you the last 1 minute of it.
Okay. So the point I just want to drive is, No matter what stage you are in, the question was, what about bottom line? Bottom line does definitely matter, just that it matters little later, not maybe in the early stages. So depending on what stage you are, uh, right, the business outcome, whatever are the most relevant business outcome. For an early stage startup, it might even not be revenue or market dominant. It might just be a PMS, but that matters. So if AI does not lead to business outcomes, it's a liability. That's the bottom line.
There are a few more questions, Anuj. I think we can take them.
Yeah.
Can you describe the AI stack from your POV? I've heard it described as model layer, infra layer, and use case layer.
Yeah, so I would say four. There is hardware, there are fundamental models, then there are platforms, and then there are applications on the top, right? Today, if you see, most of the money is either at the hardware game, right, the NVIDIAs of the world, or at the application layer side of it, right? Not much has been seen either in the foundational model. Foundational model is a little too early, or in the infra game, or the platform game, sorry.
Got it. What is your POV on very small teams delivering disproportional value with AI? Will teams which build market winning companies generally be smaller?
Yeah, I mean, let's come to all of that towards the end. I'll answer that much later. I will defer that question. Anything else?
I think there's a question on idea validation, but if you would want to cover that later as well,
Yeah,
how do you?
yeah. So I think in another 45 minutes or so, we should hit that particular question, right? On the idea validation part. Any other
Yeah.
questions?
No, I think we can just pick this up when the
Okay.
section.
So the first and the foremost tip, right? I've seen lots and lots of teams, especially people who are doing AI for the first time. If you're a founder or a team leader or an IC in last 2 years, right? They believe that AI is like software. AI is like IT, right? What I'm gonna first argue is AI is anything but like IT or traditional software development, right? When I say software development, I'll always talk of this software 1.0, which is the pre-AI era thing, right? And this is not about using AI tools to develop software. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking of developing core, hardcore AI systems themselves. Okay. So, if you look at how do you conceive a suitable use case, how do you design, develop, deploy, how do you even sell, position AI products or unit economics and strategy, I'll show you across this entire presentation, some parts of it. AI is anything but IT. While we might be writing code in both of them, fundamentally the way all of this operates today, and this is unlikely to change for, I would say, for next 2 to 3 years, right? They are very different, and that's one of the key reasons why most IT services companies who are amazingly good at writing software and IT are actually struggling to transition into the AI world. Okay, so that's the first step, and I'll show them, right? Just a very small toy example, right? You can describe a problem statement in IT or software just using simple couple of lines. Build a login system for a website. That itself gives you a fairly good idea of what you have to do. Of course, there are details, right? I'm not talking of them, but at a high level, you get a good sense of it. Now, imagine in AI, I give you the following problem statement. Build a image classification system to identify images of dog from images of cat. This does not give you much idea of the problem statement. And why? Because if your dataset consists of a large number of images, which is kind of the images on the left, most software engineers today can Google it up and create a basic system in 1 to 2 days easily. Easily. A basic model in a couple of hours and a basic system in 1 to 2 days with all your APIs and everything working perfectly. However, if a large number of your images consists of images on the right, most software engineers, even after 3 months, will not be able to give you a decent system. Right? This is just a toy example to demonstrate that even at the problem statement level, how IT software is very different from AI. Right? A lot of people tend to make this mistake that when they're talking of AI system that they are developing or they are working on and all of the stuff, they just read the text statement and start working without actually looking at the kind of data that is most likely the application is likely to see when it will be in production, right? And depending on that, the choices can or your entire development, right, from the choices that you make in terms of model, data set, metrics, design, development, timelines, talent, everything can change drastically. Like I said, most undergrads today will be able to solve this problem. Most of them will not be able to solve this problem for the same problem statement, right? Uh, so just remember this slide. This is something a very famous slide from Gartner as well, right? Which basically says the same thing. AI is not IT / traditional software. This is where I believe a lot of teams start making mistakes itself because a lot of teams today come with extensive, amazingly brilliant experience in building software. They tend to believe that they understand everything about software development, which is right, and they extend it to believe that they can easily build AI systems. Now, 2 years ago, this statement was highly incorrect. Today, I would say the statement is partially correct and in a lot many ways incorrect. Right? Can you easily build AI system? Maybe a V0, right, by calling out a lot of APIs and stuff like that from the chat GPTs and the Coheres and the Anthropic system, right? But is that good enough? The answer is no, right? Even in building a V0 of a system, most teams get wrong various aspects like setting up the right metrics, both AI metrics and business metrics, creating golden data sets. A lot of teams don't even know what is a golden data set, right? They start building the AI system from day one. They will straight away take a LLM and start solving the problem, right? And this is what I'm going to stress on the second part of it, right? So the first pragmatic tip, stop thinking of AI development as a whole, be it be budgeting, be it be timeline, be it be the process of developing, and I'll demonstrate all of that using throughout this by the end of this entire class. Like IT, it is anything but IT. Okay. The second mistake that a lot of founders start to do is that they start building the model on day one. What do I mean by the? A model with a very high accuracy, right? They assume that unless we have a model with a very high accuracy, we will not be able to deliver maximum business outcome. Partially, the statement is correct. You need a great model to deliver great business outcomes, but you cannot build or you cannot start building the model on day one. And why? Couple of reasons. One, building a great system requires one to have a very good understanding of the problem statement. Okay. Two, in most cases, you are building AI to replace some aspect which is often done by human. Now, today, AI systems are not at a point where you can completely replace the human, 100%, not possible, right? Which means that once you build everything and you deploy and you operationalize, some parts will be done by the system and some parts will be done by machine, right? Which means when you are formulating the problem, you need to decide what parts will be done by machine and what parts will be handed over to the human. This formulation itself, a lot of teams tend to get it wrong. Right? Third, building great AI systems, even today with all the GPTs of the world, require you to build great data sets, right? Which are complete and correct. Complete means they are comprehensive in nature, right? So the data set on which you train your models is a very good representation of what that application is likely to see in its entire lifetime in the production. Correct means is that every data point, and especially if it's a supervised case, right? It's of a high quality in terms of there are no errors either in the data point or in the labelings of it. So third is very akin to if you want to build a nuclear bomb, you can't just stuff anything into it, right? You can't even stuff nuclear material. You need to very carefully craft high grade uranium, right? I'm sure all of us have studied in physics. There is a very cumbersome process of enriching uranium before it is fed into the nuclear power plant or bomb, whatever it is, right? Creating great data sets is akin to this. Setting up the right metrics, right? And even the best of the best teams, one of the can get this wrong. One of the best examples of this is YouTube. So YouTube for the longest time had a single metric called CTR, right? So if I show or if I recommend a particular video to a user clicks that particular video or not. Now, can somebody tell me why is this metric wrong? Maybe take 2 quick minutes and answer this in the chat box. Sorry. Any answers?
Not yet. I think folks, you can just drop it in the Q&A box itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is that think of YouTube, right? Now YouTube has search and recommendation and all that, right? One of the things, so imagine you're building this recommendation system in YouTube. You are the in charge of that, right? The business metric that you have set is to improve the CTR, right? And the way you measure this is if someone clicks on a YouTube video, it's +1. If someone does not, it is not, right? Why this might be a completely wrong metric for YouTube?
Some answers around not reflecting engagement, bots can click to, CTR might not drive revenue.
Okay, so okay, because I can't see a lot of faces and all that, I'm completely blind to that. I don't know how many of you think. But the problem is that imagine there's a 1 hour video. Your system recommended this video to me, right? Or a 20-minute video. And I clicked on it, watched it for 5 minutes, and then I went back. Now, was your recommendation correct? No. Why? Because I watched it only for 5 seconds and I found it no, this is not interesting to me. Hence, I have left it. But did I click it? Yes. So the right metric is actually not CTR, but the right metric is for what fraction of amount of time I have actually watched this particular video. And it so turns out that for the longest time, from 2003 till 2015, YouTube has only CTR as a metric. It is much later in their journey that they realized that this is not the right metric, right? And if any of you understand the underlying mathematical foundations of AI, you would know that you set the wrong objective function, you're setting the entire AI piece wrong. Okay. I'm gonna play a video, audio for all of you, right? Uh, Let me know if this is audible to everyone. I want to demonstrate a AI system that will, and then I will walk through these 4 points that, sorry, I tried to connect that audio file in this, but I could not get it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna play this. Yes, I'm gonna play this for 5 seconds. Let me know if people this is audible. हेलो हेलो नमस्ते मेरा नाम शालिनी है और मैं मित्रा जॉब Is this audible? Audible. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm gonna continue playing this. से बात कर रही हूँ आपने जोमेटो में डिलीवरी जॉब के लिए अप्लाई किया था क्या मेरी बात सन्नू से हो रही है हाँ जी मैडम बोल रहा हूँ थैंक यू सन्नू जी आगे बढ़ने से पहले बस ये जानना था कि आप अभी भी डिलीवरी जॉब में इंटरेस्टेड हो या नहीं हाँ हूँ हाँ हूँ ठीक है सर अब जब इंटरेस्टेड है तो हमें आपके 5 मिनट चाहिए ताकि हम आपकी आईडी बना सकें और उसके बाद आप डिलीवरी शुरू कर सकें क्या आप अभी अवेलेबल हैं मैम हमारे अभी है हमें आपके
5 मिनट चाहिए ताकि हम आपकी आईडी बना सकें। क्या आप अभी अवेलेबल हैं? हाँ मैडम, कृपया प्रतीक्षा करें जब तक मैं इस कॉल को मेरे सुपरवाइजर को ट्रांसफर करती हूँ।
So this is an actual system which is in production. This is something that we started building almost 15 months back. I'm sure all of you by now would have understood that there is no Shalini in the real world. There's actually a AI machine which is sounding like a human, right? But the point I want to drive is the following. Just one sec. Okay, so let's look at the 4 points that I mentioned. What is the hard part in this problem statement, right? Now, this is a system that actually talks to delivery partners and schedules them for onboarding. That was the primary purpose of the system. Now, anybody, if you don't understand the problem statement well enough, what you will do is you will build a speech system and you will go ahead and deploy it. The challenges here were following. One, these are people who come from a background who are often not very good in any language, right? They often come from dialects rather than a language, right? This Hindi wasn't pure Hindi. Second, they often work in environments which are super noisy. So you would have seen that this person was most probably on road when he was talking, and there were vehicles passing in the background with a very loud noise, right? This is India. We all know that in India, the average noise level in the backgrounds are much higher. Now, how do you build speech systems that do not get confused by the background noise? Because the background noise is much louder as compared to the primary noise, right? Third is the behavioral aspect. Owing to the financial status that these people come from, the economic backgrounds they come from, they often get scammed and cheated a lot. Because of which, the way they talk on phone is very different. When you and I pick up a phone and say hello, we say it very loudly and very confidently. If you talk to a lot of people who are basically delivery partners or who want to apply for these kind of jobs, they are very non-committal. They'll say ha, right? They'll do a lot of these things rather than to say ha ji or nahi or yes or a no. They don't do all of this stuff. Most importantly, they don't trust systems at all, which is why IVR is a big failure in this particular space. Look at any IVR solution, look at their conversions in order to recruit people for blue collar jobs, you will find them abysmally bad. The reason is that the moment they listen to an IVR system, they just keep the phone down. They don't want to talk to machine. They just want to talk to human. Which means for this particular problem, we have to, one of the criteria was you have to make it sound like human every time, no matter what happens, right? This is what is meant by a great understanding of problem statement. If you are building a similar system for maybe somebody like you or me, it might even be okay to say upfront that I'm not a human and I'm a bot, so that I will be more measured in my responses to you, so that we can communicate and get done with the job. This is what I meant by great understanding of problem statement. No matter who you are, no matter what background you have, unless you have spent a lot of time in that business domain, right, and trained deeply, you would not have a great understanding of the problem statement. A lot of ICs tend to just listen to a problem statement and start building stuff without even understanding it. The second point here, right, the formulation. So you would have realized that what the system did is it talked to the human for some time, found out whether this person is currently available for onboarding or not. And if this is, then it said that I'm going to hand it over to my supervisor who will take it forward. Right? Now, the supervisor who is going to come and talk is a human. Prior to it wasn't human, it was a system. Now, why did we design it this way specifically? If you look at the conversations, when we listen to a lot of these conversations, the initial part of conversation, we saw that they were fairly standard. There wasn't a lot of variation. क्या मेरी बात इनसे हो रही है? Am I talking to this particular person? Yes. Are you current? Did you apply for this job? Yes. Are you currently available? Yes. Now these three, four questions, in how many different ways can you ask? 30, 40, 50. There can't be 50,000 different ways of having this small talk. But when you're talking to a supervisor, when you're interested in a job, this guy is going to ask 110 questions, right? Where it is, which city, what will be the time slots, blah, 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 blah. That is a much more open ended domain, right? Now, do you really want to deploy a AI system in a very open ended conversation from day one? Maybe not. Maybe it's a good to start with parts that you can control, you can deliver well, and once you do that, then gradually see how much can you push into on the open side of it. So this is what I meant by formulation in terms of the sweet spot between human only and machine only side of it, right? Third, collecting data for this was the toughest task, right? We had a very large team who started collecting data for this separately from day one, given certain constraints, right? Now, why can't we use the chat GPTs of the world and the 11 labs and all those APIs? You can build a fairly decent model up to an extent. But I'll come to this point little later also. At Always remember that the chat GPTs of the world will not take you all the way to an IPO. Not gonna happen. If your product sees success, which means product market fit, your customers start to pay. At some point of time, they'll start asking for higher accuracies. Now you can fine tune, you can do RAG, you can do this, that, a lot of these technical uh, techniques that are available. They are great techniques. I'm not questioning them. All I'm saying is you can push only so far. Maybe from a 90%, you can get to 92 or 93. But at some point of time, you will have to start building your own AI system, even from the point of a moat and controlling your own destiny, right? You can't wait for another implosion inside OpenAI, right? And take your company also down along with it, which means you have to start collecting uranium, right? You can't just be dependent on the America if you really want to build your own nuclear bomb, right? Unless you are a Europe, and we already know where that entire story is going to go down, right? Fourth, the point I mentioned, setting up right metrics. Here we had to very carefully create metrics like how many people kept the phone down because they could differentiate that this is not a human and a machine, right? Is it an easy metric to measure? No, that is not the question here. The question I'm saying is these are various aspects that one has to get right from day if you really want to build great AI system. Okay, just a quick time check. We are already 43 minutes into the class. Okay, we have a lot to cover. So this is the second tip, the most important tip. Don't start building the model on day one. Then what should you start doing from day one, right? And I think somebody did ask a question on idea validation, right? I'm going to come to it. What is the hardest part? I'm sure many of you have been 2x 3x founders, right? What is the hardest part of going from zero to series B when you're building a startup? It is the product market fit, right? Are you building something that customers need badly? So these are the three tenets that often come from YC, right? Are you build something that people need? Build something that they will be willing to pay for it. This not toys where we all play and then leave, right? And third, the end users will refer it to the other users so that you will have a network effect, right? These are three. I mean, of course, PMF can be defined in multiple ways and all that. I'm not going to go into that detail here, but at a high level, this itself is a fairly good indicator of that, right? The hardest part is, are you building something that satisfies these three criteria, right? This has nothing to do with model accuracy. To be honest, this does not even have to do anything with AI. It is all about, are you solving a problem that matters a lot to them? This is the hardest part, right? And we all know from day one we should start solving for what is the hardest part. Correct? Have I answered the question to the gentleman? And I will answer some of it more as to how what is the right methodology of developing AI systems. We are moving towards that, right? Third, a lot of founders tend to believe that unless I have a great model, I'm not going to launch. Oh, it's going to make mistakes. It's going to look ugly. We're going to get a lot of backlash. Show me one AI product in last 2 years that you have seen that was launched and was perfect, right? The underlying belief comes from the fact that the secret ingredient is a magical algorithm. Not really. It is again going back to the example of the aeroplane. The engine matters definitely. You cannot have an aeroplane without an engine. It will be stranded on the runway, we all know, or it won't even reach the runway, right? But mere engine is not enough, right? You need lot of other uh, elements that have to come together in order to make it a great product, right? Starting from, are you solving the right product, right? What is the unit economics? I have built a system that is automating for human voice, right? But that system costs me 70 rupees a minute. How many people in India will use that system in order to replace or automate their call centers? Nobody. In India, a call center employee is typically available from anywhere between 9 to 5 rupees per minute cost, all direct cost included, right? Unless you get that economics right, no matter how great is your AI, no chief operating officer or no head of customer success is going to look at your solution, right? The solution that I just demoed you, we had to engineer it to a level where we brought down the cost from 29 rupees a minute to 2.2 rupees a minute, $0.03 per minute, right? So for a successful, you need, it's very similar to, right? For a successful startup, you need a lot of things to go right. For a startup to shut down, you just need one thing to go wrong. This is very similar in AI as well, right? Only if you are getting the above things right, then comes the question, how well have you solved the problem? Have you developed a great algorithm that can solve for a lot of edge cases that creates your moat and so on and so forth? But this comes after this, right? You can create the greatest algorithm. If you're not solving a right problem, it's all gonna be doomed. Okay. One of the examples in the recent times, a lot of people build these apps which can create an itinerary for you, right? I want to create an itinerary. That can be a feature inside a Make My Trip or a Clear Trip or a Travel or one of these travel aggregators. That itself cannot be a product. Why? Do you think? And ask this question to you yourself. Will you pay for such a product? How often will you pay and how much money you are willing to spend in a year? You will know why it is not a right problem to solve. Because nobody is going to give you money for that. They're all going to come. Maybe you will get a lot of sign-ups. You will get a lot of crowd initially if you have a great growth hack who will come, try your app, set up two, three, four itineraries, and then they're going to vanish. Right? That's the point I wanted to build. Right? This idea that unless you have a great model, do not launch, does not exist. What you need to set up is a great demo that will excite your customers or your end users who they are, right? And then you have to keep improving your model. We will look at what that whole methodology looks like through a curve. Am I clear so far? I'm gonna take a 2 minute break. One, you all can ask a lot of questions, and two, maybe this will help me also. Sorry.
There are a few questions that have come in, Anuj, in the last few minutes, if you want to take those.
Yeah. Somehow, okay. Q&A is a separate chat box. Sorry.
Yes.
At an early stage, metrics should focus on validation or on revenue. Okay, so two things. It should focus on the business North Star, whatever is the North Star for the business at that point of time, and this will keep on changing with the stage of the company. On day one, you cannot have revenue. Maybe it should be number of signups or number of active customers or number of repeat customers, right? Again, depending on the problem wherever you are dealing in, right? What is needed is the following, right? For all of us, what does Fitbit do to all of us? It tells me how well is my health at a high level at a click of the finger. Set up a very good Fitbit for your company, no matter where you are. Right? That's the point I want to drive with now. Uh, Sorry, too many questions. I don't know. What is a golden data set? Okay, so golden data set is a small but ultra high quality data set on which whenever you run your system, whatever number comes out, that's the reality. Right? You all know that the numbers in AI can be fudged easily by tweaking your data set, right? So it's almost like the 24 karat gold. That is why it's called a golden data set. Sorry, I'm skipping some questions. I know there are too many of them, but I don't have experience in the field building product. Are there ways to understand the problem better? The way to understand problem statement is quickly build a solution, take it to your end user, and literally sleep with your end user. See them use. So this is what we did in this the demo that I gave. We quickly built a solution which was as expensive as 29 rupees a minute, but it's okay because that's not the purpose. We took it to the market. We were literally on the roads, right? When it will talk, we would stand right next to them, listen to them, record audio, video, all kind of recordings we did and all of the stuff, right? Get into the very bones of your users, right? This is where this YC always, there's this famous story of Airbnb, right? When Brian Chesky was asked very early, right, where are your users? And they said they are in New York. And the question, I think Paul Graham asked them, what are you doing in SF? So pick one or two questions, sorry, one or two users, give them the product. If it's an enterprise customer, literally take an office on their floor or inside their company if you get unit economics. I will come much later. This is a very big topic. We won't even be able to touch this, maybe a separate class altogether, but I'll briefly touch upon this towards the end of this talk. One important question I understand, let's say you're launching an LLM model, shared instances, is there a way to, again, don't look for cost optimization from day one. This is much later, much later. What will you do by optimizing a product that nobody even uses? Okay, so you should know when to do what, right? So start first thing to check, and I will go through the process of building AI systems, and then I will come to this. At a prototype fit, how do you make just okay to launch? If it works end to end, good enough, right? That's it. It should work into it. So one of the suggestions I have it, make it work, make it better. What are the things to consider for economics? Again, I can't touch economics today. What extent does tuning a model reduce the cost? It can reduce to an extent. Tuning is not to reduce the cost. Tuning is to improve the accuracy, right? How much cost does tuning take? If that's the question you're asking, yes, I will answer this in a fairly good detail, right? What is the best way to find PMF? Again, right? I mean, B2C again, right? If you are in Indian market, especially, right? Nobody is gonna put money on the table if they don't like what you have, right? So number of paying customers from day one in the B2C game in India. Synthetic data, I would say refrain because there are a lot of papers. I'm not going to go into details, but the biggest thing is that synthetic data is not same as the actual data. There is a delta difference between them, right? There's another way to understand this. If your models can generate synthetic data which is as good as actual data, which means they have understood the underlying distribution perfectly, which means any task that is defined on that data set should also be done perfectly. We know this is far from the case, right? So there are a lot of papers which have clearly shown that when you start feeding synthetic data to the models, they start to go mad, right? Mad has its own definition, but they literally start to spit out all kind of garbage. How do you again, I mean, major PMF, right? See, you will get a sense of it could be in terms of, again, right? It is a totality of how many customers in B2C, that's a very different number. In a B2B, there's very different. How often they use that also depends on the app and the value proposition, right? So there is no one answer to it. But I would leave the product market fit question because that's a very well talked about concept by a lot of product leaders, right? I would rather focus on the AI side of things. Mm, okay. It will be good if we can copy all these questions and keep it somewhere. Sorry, it won't be possible for me to go through all the questions right in the
I can
interest of
share
time. Pardon.
separately, Anush, but I think there's one question that a lot of people
Yeah,
asked on
yeah, please.
generating data sets. So I often find hard to get a data set. Let's say I want to
Yes.
have a data set on some centers which hold some attributes, but they're not available at least to pre-process my model. Is it good to generate those data sets using ChatGPT, or we have to
No.
collect?
So see, you can generate until you figure out a better method. Okay. But that itself is not the answer. That's the whole point, right? So it's like this, right? Do you think eating a lot of chips and these packaged food is a good thing? All of us know the answer is no, right? Nothing, especially for somebody at my age, right? Nothing like home food, right? Far, far, far better. But if you have nothing on the table, what do? Right? All of us do go to market and eat that, right? That's the answer I would say. But which means that while you eat some food from the market, make sure you also have cooks or a whole setup, right? Which will create that very good home food for you. That's the point I want to drive across, right? And I'll talk of that when is the right time to start thinking seriously of a data strategy. Most companies, especially in India, have zero data strategy, right? Which is why all of us are in a big, big soup. And I'll come to that point. I hope that answered again at a very high level. I can't go into all the details in the interest of time, right? I'm happy to have separate discussion as and when that can be done. Okay, so the point I want to, so till now the three things are clear, right? The first one was AI is not IT. Two, don't start building the model on day one, right? Uh, and unless you have a great model, don't launch. This becomes the greatest impediment. Three big mistakes a lot of founders do. And guys, we all have to understand, right? As founders, we are the ones who have the vision, but we are also the ones who have the authority and budgets, right? Especially in an early stage startup. Whatever a founder says is often the final line in the stone, right? Which means that if we start making these mistakes, we are hindering the entire AI effort from day one. Which means that you may not understand how to build a AI model. That's not your job, but you must understand what is the right process of building a AI system, right? I might not understand how to build a biryani, right? And I am gonna use that as a generic example throughout this class, right? But if I start shouting on my head chef that cook me a biryani in 15 minutes, he will just put everything in a pressure cooker, give it a couple of whistles, and give it back to me. We all know that is not biryani. Whose mistake is it? The cook's or mine? It is my mistake. Why? Because I am treating biryani like a palav. These are two separate things. Get this very clearly. Okay. Fourth, over obsession with model accuracy. You look at the entire history of all the AI products that have been built. Show me or count the number of AI products that were killed or rejected because they have low accuracy, as opposed to the number of AI products that were killed or rejected because they did not have lack of PMS. You will see a disproportionate uh, disbalance between these two numbers. The number of products that got killed because of low accuracy are very, very few. Accuracy happens over a period of time, and I'll show you why I keep saying this, right? So don't sweat on it from day one. I'm not saying it does not matter. I'm not saying you don't put effort, right? But to start talking of this on day one is a very, very wrong thing to do. Now, I've already shown 4 points that the way AI systems get built is not the way. So then the question comes, what is the right process and methodology to develop AI system? And this is what we're going to talk for next 40 minutes or so. What I'm going to introduce you to is a framework, right? So this is a framework that we wrote. We call this AI capability continuum. It's a three-step framework to understand the right way to develop AI systems. No matter what it is, if it's a speech, if it's an NLP, if it's a data science, if it's a vision, right? No matter what kind, what problem, doesn't matter. This framework is a very generic framework that can be applied to all AI development when you're part of product teams. Am I clear the context for next 40 minutes? Okay, we all know this. Okay, so so the way to think of this is, imagine you're writing software, right? A simple traditional software, right? As you write more and more functions and parts of that software, the capability will keep on increasing. So imagine we are implementing a simple calculator, right? You write the main function, then you write add, subtraction, division, multiplication, blah, 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 blah. So as you implement more and more parts of it, its capability will keep on increasing. We understand intuitively what do I mean by that. Imagine I were to draw a plot between capability as the y-axis and time as the x-axis. Okay, and I in this capability versus time graph, I draw the software's capability with time. Whatever is the right way to measure capability, right? I'm not going to go into that debate, right? At a high level, at a very high level, what would this curve look like? I want all of us to take 2 minutes and think on this. So I put capability on y-axis, I put time on x-axis. As I am implementing more and more, the capability is increasing. So clearly with time, capability is going up, right? However, I measure capability. If I were to draw this as a plot, what would this curve look like? Okay, while all of you think, I hope most of you are able to follow me, right? I see lots of questions coming in. It's a great sign, but at the same time, okay, this is going to be a linear graph. First increasing exponentially, then plateauing. Okay, as it reaches, okay, we'll have to order biryani to, yeah, please do one for me as well. Think. So today nothing is there, and imagine this is a project in a startup or a MNC, right? So you're sitting on day zero. There is nothing on the project. There is just idea there. Okay. If I were to now take this idea to an execution, what will that curve look like? So, so some of you got right some parts of it. Somebody said exponentially, right? Will it be exponential from day one? Okay, it's gonna be S curve. Okay, 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 like a sigmoid. Yeah, okay, okay. I think many of you got it, right? So let's first look at for traditional software, right? I agree. It will rise and then it will start to taper here, right? Because and we'll come to it why. See, why is the shape likely to be like this? Because initially when you start, right, you will take some time to set up the whole thing, right? What is the problem statement, getting the budget, getting the talent, getting the team together, getting the processes together, and all of that, right? Now, until that, no code is written. Because no code is written, we will say capabilities near zero almost, right? So it will start slowly, but once we start to write the software, the actual code, it will start to grow very, very quickly. Why will it grow very quickly? Because all of us have been writing software for last 30, 40 years, right? We have mastered the very process of writing software in terms of tools, in terms of technology, in terms of platforms, in terms of tools, in terms of our knowledge, best practices, do's, don'ts, all of that come together, right? Hence, this will rise very quickly. Why will it start to taper here? Because at some point of time, the technical debt will start to come in, right? So, but at all along, the software will always be 100% correct. Imagine, right? The production version, we always make it a bug-free release, right? I know that's a statement that's not correct, but almost 100%, right? So Why will it start to taper? Because any effort from there on, right, you will need more time to understand what has been written, what change to be done. So we will come to that phase where putting a or striking it with the hammer, we first have to spend enough time to understand what exactly we want to do. Hence, it will start to taper. Okay, great. At a very high level, right? The capability versus time, capability curve on capability versus time graph for a traditional software will look like this, right? What will it look like for an AI system? That's the next question. It's not gonna be bell curve, Arjuna. I hope you understand the argument that I right. So it's gonna be S curve as people said, but it's gonna be a fairly steep S curve, right? A large parts of or a large number of capability can be written within a week or kind of thing. Hence, in a very short time, we will have very exponential rise. Okay, what will it look like for an AI system? And imagine what will it be to build a curve look like in a pre-GPT era or pre-LLM era. Not LLM, but GPT or anything off the shelf intelligence. Okay. I'm gonna jump the gun here. Sorry guys, right? I cannot. The curve is gonna look like again a S-shaped curve, but much more stretched along with the time. Why is this the case? Let's understand this, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to break this curve into three parts. O to A, I call it foundation zone. A to B, I call it acceleration ramp. And B to M, I'm going to call maturity plateau. Okay. This line represents acceptable performance. Our system is good enough to be that the outcomes or the outputs can be shown to the end user, right? This is 100% automation, completely driven by AI, no human in it whatsoever. So that's what L1 and L2 represent. The Y and the X-axis remain the same, capability and time. Okay. And then we will also argue how the chat GPTs of the world have altered this graph. And that will explain to you the right way to develop AI systems, right? That's the direction we are heading in. I hope I'm clear with the broad context where we are in the journey in this talk. Everybody with me? Anybody wants to go grab a bottle of water or something? Okay, I'll just take 2 minutes so that if all of us can absorb what we have done so far. I shared a couple of big mistakes that a lot of teams, a lot of founders, a lot of startups get it wrong from day one. Right? And whatever I'm sharing, the reason I'm just going back to my background, right? I've been there, done this, all of this multiple times over the last 20 years, right? Be it be MNCs or early stage startups, right? And all of this has led to fundings, acquisitions, IPOs, and all of that stuff. So I speak all of this from a fairly good experience. Okay, so if people are back, maybe let's continue next. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to spend more time in each of these phases and give you a better sense of why this curve looks like the way it looks like. Right? At a high level, some of you might have already sensed it, but let's spend some time. Okay. So in the initial part, what happened, right? In the initial parts, this is the pre-GPT game. So imagine you're sitting in 2020 before November of 2022, and then I'll talk of how the GPTs of the world have altered this graph. Okay, so how would you have approached, right? You would have set up the entire game. What does that mean? You would have spent some time in understanding the business problem. You would have modeled the business problem in the sense you would have taken parameters that matter and excluded a lot of details that don't matter. That is what a mathematical modeling means, right? You would have asked yourself, is this even an AI problem? Most teams today don't even ask this question, and I'm surprised. I don't know why, right? Somehow, I fear that even tomorrow I'm going to give a mathematical sum to my son. What is 8 plus 19? And he might answer me, let's use AI for that. Extremely wrong. If you can solve a problem without AI, nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. And I'll show why. Okay. You have to ask yourself, do you have the right data for it? What are the right metrics for it? You look at larger design decisions. Should your solution be real time or batch? Should it be on the cloud or edge? Depending on the problem statement constraints, right? Set up the data pipelines. You would have then spent time on what kind of a AI problem is it, supervised, unsupervised, right? What are the various techniques and all of that. What you then do is build a model, deploy it, test everything end to end, set up various dipsticks, and then release it in the market, right? The point I want all of us to stress is I said build a model, right? So this is the point I was making earlier. Just assemble a system that works end to end. It's okay if it gets a couple of things right, right? The day GPT was released, a lot of fun was made. The day Gemini is released, a lot of fun is made. If you have an AI system that on its release day is perfect, I can give you in writing there is no AI in it. It's an orchestration. That is what my experience in AI tells. Okay. Time wise, back in the day, this could have taken anywhere between 3 to 6 months, right? And I'll talk of why this is a game changing stuff, right? Why am I saying build a model? So we go back to the point that we made earlier. In this phase, what is the hardest piece, right? So a lot of teams tend to start building state of the art model from day one, right? It is like there was this video I was trying to put it, I could not find it, right? Where no matter what you're eating, put mayonnaise in it. That's not how cooking is done, right? There are things that look great with mayonnaise. There are things where mayonnaise does not add any value. It's ugly in taste and looks, right? So don't do that. Spend time in defining the problem statement, right? This is what I showed earlier when I gave you a demo. I played that audio and I walked through the 4 steps, right? Where I said that uh, take some time to send. You may not have a great understanding of the problem statement. It's okay. Always remember problem statements are like onions. You keep on peeling, you will keep on finding newer and newer layer, right? Now you can't say on day one that unless I get to the core, I'm not going to solve it or I'm not going to release it. You'll be dead, right? So it's a process. It will happen over a period of time, right? A lot of team would then spend a lot of time in creating ways to collect data. I would highly recommend all of us to go back and give this paper to every single member of your AI team, even if that guy is a project manager or a tester. Data cascades in high stakes AI. I think this was written somewhere in 2019 or so by Google AI. Great paper where they show that everybody wants to do the jazzy stuff, the model work. Nobody wants to do the dirty work. Okay. Quick question. How many of you know the story of how OpenAI built the data set for ChatGPT version 0? And if you know, can somebody put it for me in the chat? Oh, by dipsticks, I mean instrumentation to measure. So the point I make is uh, you can have great metrics defined in theory, but if your product does not have instrumentation, you can't measure them. That's the point I was making. Okay, somebody said hired African folks. You know how much, what scale this was done? So think of the following: you crawl the entire web, download the entire web, save the entire web somewhere. Okay. Now, web being web, it has all kind of garbage in it, right? There are racist statements, there are abuses, there are all kind of stuff lying. I want to remove all of this from my data set. So a lot of tasks were created on these data sets and given to people who whole of Africa did labeling for ChatGPT for more than 2 years at $2 an hour. There's a company called Scale.ai which got it done. That is the level at which data collection and data labeling and the data work is done. Okay. The point I want to make is when Sam Altman came to India and that question was asked to him, right? Rajan had asked him this question, right? And he said, maybe not possible. Of course, there was a lot of human crime. The point is, everybody wants to get to the great model. Nobody wants to do the dirty work. Even if you are from a world where you love cooking, go to any Michelin two-star chef. He will tell you what matters most is the ingredients. In any Michelin two-star restaurant, the chef gives greatest importance to how the pantry gets stocked. AI is like that. Okay. Remember this example, it will come handy. Okay. Another mistake, a lot of senior leaders tend to do this, right? Where if you have not built state of the art model, it is not AI. It's an absolutely wrong concept. There's something called Occam's razor, which basically says that the whole game in AI is to build the simplest model for the task at hand, right? If you want to kill a mosquito, you would not deploy a bazooka, right? You can also see this in the war that is happening or wars that are happening. I'm not going to go, it's a little political, so I'm not going to go deeper there. But you don't start launching nuclear weapons on day one. Please, that's not the way to go about it. A small drone can do the job. A small $2,000 drone can take out a multi-million dollar tank. That is what Ukraine versus Russia has shown us. That applies. This is the most fundamental concept in AI. You should literally print it in big bold letters wherever your AI team sits. Okay. A lot of people tend to stay saying that if this is not 95% correct, it is not good enough. No, you should focus on the hardest part. This is exactly what somebody had asked. Are we building something that solves a major pain point? Is it a vitamin uh, or a painkiller? Right? Sorry, I think something happened here. Does it seem to meet business objectives? I've already talked about some. Would my users or clients be willing to pay for it? Get to that point in the fastest possible. Do you think you can extract enough LTV? Okay, my user is willing to spend $2 on this, but do you think across the two, by gathering $2 from one user, I can't build a unicorn? We all know this very well, right? But can I get enough LTV across the whole life cycle, right? What are my costs going to look like? At some point of time, you need some estimation of this, right? So these are the things that you have to start focusing on, right? The point I'm trying to make is these are the tips. When you are in O2A, don't fret over accuracy. Your focus should be on testing the market, utility of the solution, realistic price point, sell before you build, start selling before you build. A lot of people, especially those who come from great tech first organizations, right? The Googles of the world, they do completely opposite of that. They keep on building, right? And then one day, by the time they sell, it often bombs big time. Start selling before you build. Focus on metrics, data, not on model, right? Uh, okay, let's not go here. This is not very relevant for startups. Maybe more for MNCs. Okay. One of the things that I always used to do in all the AI teams that I've led is I used to print a T-shirt and give to all my devs. All AI engineers used to wear this. I used to tell them always build two solutions. One for your CV, one for the business. The one for the CV, you can build the greatest algorithm, the newest algorithm, newest technology. I don't care what happens. But the one you want to build for the business is going to be the simplest model that will get the job done. I will highly recommend this as a, and I'll come to this point later on when I'll discuss the people aspects of AI. Okay. Uh, it's been good hour and 20 minutes. Let's take 5 minutes break. Right. Let's quickly go grab some tea, coffee, water. Right. So right now in my watch, it is 18:20, 6:20 p.m. Right? We'll start in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, any questions? I hope it's making sense so far. Okay, so they done so OpenAI didn't just feed large amount of data, right? It's one of the largest exercises with respect to data set. And there's a difference between data and data set, right? So think of data as when the vegetables come from farms, they often comes in these large gunny bags just thrown around. Imagine lots of gunny bags and vegetables of gunny bags are there in your stores, right? That's data. Imagine you have a team that will open all the gunny bags. They will do quality check. They will carefully pick the good quality stuff. They will wash it, clean it, put it in the right place in the pantry. So think of a pantry of a Michelin two-star restaurant. What does that look like? That is a data set. The greatest AI companies in the world do not talk of this. They only keep on talking of this model first narrative. They all have amazingly large teams that do this job of going from those gunny bags to Michelin two-star pantry. That is what it takes to go from data to data set. Okay. Is there a way to connect a network with other like-minded AI founder? Okay. I think Isha and team would be better people to answer that. If we crawl the web, take data from multiple portals, data track legal issues, yes, but there are ways to circumvent that. What OpenAI is doing. Has gone into search not because it wants to challenge Google, because there is a ruling in the US courts which says that if you are a search company, you can crawl the web. And to save itself from those cases, OpenAI strategically has moved to search. Okay, so Google, the question that you ask is, how do you preempt? Yeah. So I will show you some some aspects of this, right? When we'll talk of more of B2M part of the curve, you'll see how this plays out. Golden data sets can be moat. Yes, data set. The only moat in AI. So in computer science, algorithms cannot be patented. I hope all of us know this. Only systems can be patented, right? And anyways, the rate at which talent keeps hopping around, you can't protect algorithms. But it's the combination of data set and this that comes together to create a great system. Data sets you can always and always protect, which is why you take any great AI company. They are extremely hungry for data. I always advise all AI founders when you are thinking of data, think like Chinese companies. TikTok from day one is all about data. Huawei from day one is all about. And I've been a very senior leader in one of these Chinese companies for a couple of months, so I know the game inside. Fun question before we get started. Uh, any guesses? Uh, so people who get jail for crimes and other things in China, what do they do in these jails? Right? In India, in Bollywood, there was this famous line, right? Jail jayega, chakki pisega, right? So, which basically means that you're gonna turn that wheel, which kind of grinds the grains into flour, right? What do people do in China? What do data entry? Okay, close. All of them have a small device on which they label data. No, crypto mining. Maybe Rajan, at least I didn't hear that story. There was a story that was told to me by a very senior Chinese executive a couple of years back. Data annotation, yes, absolutely, that is what they do. Okay, last 1 minute, guys, before we go back. I hope most of you are with me. I know a lot, number of people have dropped, but I hope got something out of it. Okay, meanwhile, somebody sent me a couple of people sent me a question on LinkedIn that what do we do? Basically, I'm not going to go here much. I mean, right? So we basically work with startups and MNCs as principal advisor and help them get AIP right, right from strategy to building system to all the way to even operationalizing engineering, right? So think of us not like the Infosys of the world where we come and do your technical projects and go away. We don't believe in that model. Think of us like coaches who will come in, who will work with you and your teams inside your companies, right, and help you win the World Cup, right? So that's what we basically do, right, and that is how we are able to drive outcomes rather than just build models. Sorry, very quick and dirty. I'm not. Okay, let's come back. Should we get started? People are back. I have your attention. Okay, so capability curve, let's look at it. Okay, so what does A to B? Now, where are we, right? So in our journey, we have already done the hard work, right? We have already set up the problem statement. We have already set up the data pipelines, the metrics, and everything. We have a system which is working end to end, right? So we may not have a Mercedes Benz, but we have a basic chases, right? I'm sure on Indian highways you must have seen these trucks sometimes where just the driver is sitting on the chases and driving them, right? That is up and running for our AI system, right? So a lot of necessary ingredients are put in place, right? Now what we start to do, we start to focus on the models. We try various algorithms, right? We create models, we run them on test sets, we benchmark their performance. The ones that are better than that is there in production, we keep replacing them and we keep on measuring the delta, right? So we keep on pushing the system up, right, by working at the very heart of the system, which is model. Until now, O to A wasn't about model. A to B is all about models. Now, because we have done all the hard work already, right, we see some very rapid gains. Capability per unit time, that delta is greatest in this phase. Okay. So, intuitive, like what is happening? We are going from simpler approaches to more complex approaches, right? Our iterations are faster, right? Every time a model makes mistakes, your team looks at these mistakes very carefully, makes those necessary adjustments, right? And these adjustments could be in any part of the system, right? Not just a model part, but overall system performance in terms of accuracy keeps going up and up, right? This phase is mostly about going from a model to towards the model, right? Time wise, back in the day, this used to take anywhere between 3 to 12 months, depending on the complexity of the problem, right? And at some point in time, the system was good enough to launch, right? And then you will put it out there, right? Often this bar is much closer to the point A, like I said, right? Again, common mistakes. A lot of people tend to work directly with the hottest and the newest algorithm, right? That's not the right way. Always remember Occam's razor. Find the simplest algorithm that will get the job done for you, right? A lot of teams tend to spend a lot of time on building models, applying algorithms, but they don't do rigorous evaluations, right? We all know health, the fundamental basis of health tech is, or even if you look at the corporate world, if you can't measure anything, you can't improve it, right? You must have a very rigorous process in place. This is where you as a founder have to put your foot down and said, no, I will build the Fitbit of this company. Let we might have the worst heart rate, we might have the worst body mass index, doesn't matter. But I must be able to see the reality rather than my engineer coming and saying that I went to this conference, I heard this great algorithm, let me sit and write this today. You do it, not a problem. But first, you set up the metrics in the right way and the measuring methodology in the right way. It's only then when you apply a newer algorithm, I'll be able to see how much delta did it make. Okay. Building great tech is not the point. The point is to build a tech that delivers business outcomes. I'm again putting it again and again and again. Beyond Series B and beyond, your tech doesn't matter so much. Your revenue numbers matters, right? Uh, there are folks from Antler here. I'm sure they can describe all of this far better than me. Okay. If you take too much time in releasing something, there's a cost of opportunity that is going, right? I've already discussed this. I'm not gonna go into these points. These are very nuanced points, right? Like there's a separate branch altogether, UX for AI. A lot of teams don't even know this. AI systems need very, very nuanced UX. I'll just give a small example so that all of you will remember. I'm sure all of you have used autocomplete of Gmail, right? Either in the mobile or in the desktop. One point is problem formulation. If you are using autocomplete in mobile, this smart reply feature that it has, it tends to suggest full lines. If you are looking the smart reply feature in a laptop, it tends to suggest next 2 to 3 words. Why is there a difference? So this is a difference in problem formulation, because when we are typing responses on mobile to emails, we generally tend to be very small. So the value lies in terms of text, the amount of text. We typically write 2, 3, 4 lines max. Nobody is going to write a 50-line email on a phone. You seldom do that, right? So it makes sense to suggest lines, right? But the accuracy can take a hit. When you want to be more accurate, so you better suggest next few words. So that's problem formulation. That's another example, right? Same feature on two very different devices has very different way of formulating the problem. The second point is, if you look at these suggestions, they are in which color? Anybody remembers? Yeah, Janin, in creative tasks, coming up with metrics is hard, but there are enough papers you can go and look at that. Yeah, so it's always in gray. Can somebody tell me why in gray? Why not black? We all write text in black, right? Email text is mostly in black. Why? Why not black? Because AI, so you don't want to build scenarios where you're saying my AI is smarter than you as human. No, you are the end user. You know what has to be done better. So the way to do a soft suggestion is gray, right? Black is a hard suggestion. UX for AI, I'm not going to go this at all here. That's a separate, almost a 10-hour workshop that I can do. UX, so think of a circus, think of an artist on the trapezium, right? When they are doing that stunt, they are at great risk. What keeps them safe? There's always a safety net. The safety net of an AI system is UX, not higher accuracy. Okay, it's altogether a separate branch. How do you design UX so that you make the impact when your systems go wrong? Then they will go wrong. The impact is least. Okay. Okay. Let's jump. So we are already at point B. At some point of time, what will happen in this journey is that, right? I hope all of you understand this is unfolding over a period of time, right? This is not happening in real time, right? So at some point of time, your gains per unit effort, right, will start to slow down, right? This is typically when you are building fourth, seventh, 10th version of the system. You've already hit a PMF. You already have a lot of customers. A lot of them are paying customers. You are maybe raising a series C, D, E, maybe even closer to IPO, right? That's the kind of business cycle or life cycle you are at, right? You are now trying to push your system to its limits in terms of accuracy. What do you need at this point of time? You can't just take LLMs and keep fine tuning and all of that stuff, right? That is already done and dusted here, right? All of that stuff. So all known techniques have been tried, right? You need newer approaches, newer algorithms, right? This is where you will see lot of teams writing a lot of equations. Most startups seldom get to this. Most startups don't actually, AI startups don't go beyond point A. That's a separate conversation, right? You also will have multiple AI teams attacking the same problem, right? So this is why when you look at the Googles of the world and the deep minds of the world and the open AIs of the world, they have PhDs and all of that stuff, right? Time wise, this could be anywhere between 12 to 18 months, right? This is where. So, okay, now this is crucial, right? Most AI projects seldom get to this point, right? Most of them die either here or somewhere here, right? Or most of them figure out that this problem is not central to our business. There's no point of working further on it. Whatever we have is good enough for now. This phase itself makes sense only and only if the AI problem that you're solving is at the very heart of your business, like Tesla. Tesla may be an automobile company, but the heart and soul of that company is the autopilot, the AI. If not the brakes, if not the engine, if not the body, if not the chassis. They are important. I'm not questioning that, right? But that's the heart and soul. Right? You have to be the Teslas of the world when you are in this phase, right? So the problem that you're going after is very hard. If you don't get that right, it will start impacting your business revenues directly, right? Even a 1 to 2% gain in your system accuracy will have great impact on your business. Only then this phase makes any sense. Remember this, a lot of founders and maybe even folks from Antler, any founder who comes and says, we're going to build a system that is 100% accurate. With all due respects, I really love your enthusiasm, but you are out of reality. Okay? AI lives in the long tail of education. You can go and check how often even somebody like Elon Musk has promised the board that this year we will get to 100% autopilot. Tesla, even today, is not 100% autopilot, right? The, the fundamental reason for that is the very formulation of AI. Today, I'm not going to go into details. All of AI is an optimization problem, okay? Which means in a large space, it looks for a solution where it will be right for the maximum number of points, may not be for 100% of the points, right? Uh, and which is why going beyond 95, 96, 97 is extremely hard. Even today, Alexa, with all its wonderful capabilities, gets things wrong. That will always happen. YouTube subtitles, even today, they come wrong, right? No matter what you start to see here is a game where instead of seeing exponential rise in capability of the system, you start to see an exponential increase in the efforts and expenses required to make the system move by delta, right? I hope this point is clear to you, which is why the curve tapers here very, very fast. Am I clear so far? Okay. Now, how has this curve? Can somebody tell me how has, I want all of you to think now November of 22 has happened, the GPTs of the world are available as APIs. How has this curve changed? I'm sure the curve. So you understand what does the curve represent, right? The curve represents the ideal process to be followed when you're building AI system. So you first quickly build something, put it out there, do the PMF and all of that stuff. Once you start to see the traction in the side by side, you keep improving, which is A to B. At some point of time, your efforts will start to stagnate. The system improvements will slow down drastically, right? If this problem still matters to you the most, that is when you even work on this, otherwise you don't even work on this. But here the progress will be slow, and that is how the capability of the system will time grow. That is what this curve demonstrates. Now I want all of you to think, how has the GPTs of the world impacted this curve? I hope all of you are with me. slope to A to B has to become steeper. Okay, why A to B, Bhanu? Think carefully. The curve has flattened. It takes lesser time. Do all the parts take lesser time, Richa? O to A will shorten in time. Okay. What will the curve look like, Nipun? Do you want to quickly take out a pen, paper, draw it? It's a good exercise. O to A to B is much faster. Really, Rega? O to A to B? Or O to A is faster, right? What does that mean? Which means that I will get to a decent accuracy, often which is good enough to launch in the shortest possible time, right? What does that curve gonna look like? This, right? So from O, you get to some intelligence, and I call it off-the-shelf intelligence. I don't have to train any model. I don't have to do anything. Some basic prompt engineering, right, is good enough to get you to the purple point in the fastest possible way. So the time shortens. Exactly. Correct. What happens after that? Now, why is that crucial? Let's first spend, and this is the most important thing. There are two things always remember that fundamentally changed from this LLM game that happened in 2 years. One, right? All systems so far used to speak a language which was closer to machines than humans. Post this last 2 years, it is possible to build systems which speak in a language which is closer to humans as opposed to machines. That is one. Two, you have a lot of what I call as off-the-shelf intelligence plug and play. It is like a USB pen drive that you have, right? Just make a API call and you can get it. You'll get an answer. Is it the greatest answer? Great accuracy? Those are all secondary questions. But you can get fairly good off-the-shelf intelligence instantly available. Why is that a game changer? It's a game changer in terms of time. Until now, if you look at this curve, the founder was always hugely dependent on the AI team to take it to point A. Okay. Now, what has started to happen is I don't even need a AI team. I need a very smart product manager who can conceive a product, a business leader who can create a business out of it, right? And a couple of engineers who are good enough in prompt engineering. Engineers in classical sense, not AI engineers. I'm talking of classical engineers. So you can build a POC and get to a purple point where you can start demoing, start taking it to clients, which is why lots and lots of teams raised funding since November of 22. This whole as I call it, right? The first phase of AI applications happened. What happened after that? What happens after that? Now you take the GPTs, you apply state of the art advanced techniques, right? RAG using this, that, LoRa. I mean, there are lots and lots of techniques, find all that. Maybe you can push the pub from here to here, right? You can't get to 100% automation. We all know this. What happens after that? At some point of time, if your product is getting a lot of traction, you will have to start building your own system. When you start building your own system, this curve will come back. But now this curve has translated in terms of time and in terms of capability, which is why the curve is no more like this. The curve is this from here, 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 right? Now, what is the biggest challenge beyond purple point? I have to train my own models. What is one of the most or some of the fundamental requirements? Decent amount of compute, great data sets, better talent, and then this curve unfold exactly the way how we discussed here. Do you all agree? I want all of us to take two minutes and absorb in this point. Does this make sense? So you would have seen a lot of business leaders who are there in a lot of domains, right? Because they have been selling and understand, suddenly said, oh, now is the best time to build an AI product. Why? I don't even need a AI team. I can build on top of chat GPT. Yes. Can you get to M? No. Can you get to this point? Yes. Which is often good enough to raise a seed, maybe even series A, depending on your storytelling skills. Right? And that is what has happened. So a lot of proof of concepts, right? Uh, just imagine for whatever reason today OpenAI and Anthropic and some of these go down, right? The entire tech world will be crying hue and cry. Why? Because all of them are riding on top of those models, right? Of course, then there is this Meta's open source journey and all of that. I call all of them as off-the-shelf intelligence. Some are available as APIs, some are available as uh, open source models and all of that stuff. But I hope you understand the fundamental point why you can go only to a point and not beyond this, right? Now, this I will use to explain lots and lots of very interesting mistakes that a lot of teams do. Is everyone clear with this graph so far? Could you show other chart as well to appreciate the path? Other chart, sorry, somebody wrote by the name AM. I didn't get what you mean by other chart. Wouldn't time reduce? Yes. So time will reduce with. So what will happen, Nipun, is that even today still time takes, right? With time, this will keep on the slope. The angle will keep on increasing, right? So off the shelf intelligence will become better and better and better. So this point will go up in terms of capability, and time will shorten. But it will not become, the point I want to drive is, it will not become how it is for software anytime soon. Maybe in 3 to 5 years from now, once we will have great tools, phenomenal understanding of AI systems, we would have written the playbooks, the do's, the don'ts, all of that, the way we have for traditional software. This curve gradually will go closer to how this curve for software is, right? It will happen. There's no two questions about it. The question is when. Second question, if today it is not happening, unlikely to happen in 2 to 3 years, right? And if it's, all of us are building companies today, right? We all know as a startup founder, we can't look beyond 3 months, max 6 months, right? Unless you have some very, very deep pockets, right? So in a way, another way to understand this graph is lot of teams have an expectation of capability versus time as this. In reality, the way this curve unfolds is this. Of course, this now with this GPT thing, right? I think I forgot that particular graph. Okay, you understand what I mean. Okay, I think somebody had asked this question, the other graph. Could you, how will raising pre-seed round change, keeping new curve in mind? No, see, pre-seed is never about capability. Pre-seeds are all about idea, right? What problem are you solving? What team do you have, right? Uh, Today with GPTs, it's only easy because you can quickly assemble a prototype, right? No. So the Joseph is asking, should every system reach point M? No, right? M is the point where it has met its business objectives, or you have gotten to a point whereby now it's a game of diminishing returns, right? But if AI is to the very core of your business, Tesla, right? OpenAI, right? Or Anthropic, mid journey. You have no option but to keep pushing, 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 pushing. I hope that explains the point, Joseph. Fine tuning RAGs, all including. So RAGs, Nippon typically are gonna be around purple. So here you hit only with API. With fine tuning all that, you get 2, 3, 5% improvement, right? You can't get 15, 20% improvements. That is not going to happen, right? Unlikely. So all of that is here. This is when you are started building your own models from scratch. Please listen to that carefully. Okay. Okay. Now, what are some of the things to remember? Getting to great AI system takes time, or sorry, takes lot more than just algorithm. Getting to point M is not just a game of algorithm. It's a game of problem statement, data set, talent, compute, lot of other things. Not just algorithm, right? Algorithm matters, engine matters. No two question about it. The kind of rice or the kind of chicken you use in your biryani matters, right? But only to a point. There are a lot of spices. Remember, the small amount of saffron that goes in biryani matters. Getting a great model takes time. It does not happen overnight. We've already seen. The time curve will shrink over time. I'm not debating that, right? But even today, this is fairly large. The system that I demonstrated to you, we started building in December of 22. We got to this point in June of 24. Okay. Third mistake, don't even think of 100% accuracies. Don't become mad after that. You're going to take down the company and the team. Please don't do this. AI lives in the long tail of edge cases. I've already illustrated this point, right? As you keep moving forward, your effort to improve will be far greater than your accuracy gains, which is why the curve flips, right? Otherwise, the curve will not flip. Everybody so far with me? Okay. Time check. We are at 6:50. Okay. So let us do a quick recap. First tip, AI is not IT software. Remember this in terms of read be problem definition, read be how it is sold, how it is built, how it is conceived, all of that stuff. The only commonality between two is you write code. That is where the commonness ends, right? You can't even test AI systems the way you test software. Right? I hope all of you understand this point. Okay. Sorry, I think one point got missed here, right? What was it? So don't fret over accuracy. The third point is unless one has a great model, do not launch. This is a big mistake. You should quickly assemble a system and launch. Great demos matter, especially initially. Orchestrate them. All demos, I have told this multiple times publicly. You can go and check my Twitter and LinkedIn, you'll find it. All great demos are like lipstick on a pig, they are orchestrated. Okay. The most famous story, and this is now admitted, Amazon launched these Amazon stores in Europe where you can walk in, pick anything off the shelf and walk out, and it will automatically deduct money from your Amazon Pay. You just have to swipe a card while walking in, right? I'm sure all of you would remember something like this was launched around 17, 18, right? It was very clear to some of us, people who have been doing this for 15, 20 years. This is all orchestrated. There is no way you have AI systems at that point of time, even today. Forget about them 8 years back, right? It is now you can go. There are articles that talks of there was a 1,000 people team sitting out of I think Cognizant Chennai, who had a lot of cameras into the stores, and these cameras were placed at various positions and sensors in a way that anytime you picked an object, the sensor will clearly tell you what was picked and how much it cost. And there's a human behind the scene who will actually add it to your bill. Most AI demos are like that, which is why I use the term lipstick on the pig. Over obsession with model accuracy early on is an impediment. If you, as a founder, are doing that, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you are the biggest impediment to your AI mission. Please don't do that. Make it work, then make it better. This is a line I learned from one of my mentors, Girish at Freshworks. Girish always used to tell this in the company for software. When I heard it, I felt this is one of the best ways to describe AI. Make it first work, then make it better, and the curve clearly shows that part. How do you go about that whole thing? Okay, getting to a great AI system takes a lot more than just algorithm. Right? We have already discussed this. Getting to a great AI model takes time. It does not happen. You will never get to 100% accuracy. AI lives in long tail of edge cases. As you keep moving forward, your effort will outweigh your accuracy gain. Okay. So far, so good. Everybody with me. We're gonna change gears now. Yeah, Ankit, exactly what you said, right? Amazon Go. Yes. So there was this 1,000 team. I think the team was shut down just last year or last, something like that. COVID or post-COVID, something like that. So we should start with the closest ready model and go to the market ASAP. Yes. What assemble a system, not even a model. Assemble. I use this. Or if all of you are from India, jugaad. Just somehow assemble it. Right? I have done demos where I did not even have a model. One story. I can't give you time and place and all that, but almost a decade back, actually hired 20 humans who were doing 1010 prediction in real time. And that was being sent as the output of the model. We got the contract, a multi-million dollar contract. And then we spent next 8 months because I was supposed to show a demo in three days. You can't show a demo in 3 days. You can't build an AI system. Back in the day, there were no GPTs of the world. Okay, talent hiring, Ankit, I'll be spending next 30 minutes on talent hiring now. Okay. And I'll show how this curve has a lot of bearing on a lot of other aspects also. Everybody with me? I know it's late, middle of the week. There are a lot of things burning at your startup. I know, right? Startup things are always blowing up. But please stay with me for another 30 minutes. That's my humble request. Going low code, no code to fast deployment. Yeah, anything that gets done. Okay. I think the best example I can give is there was this chess analogy back in 1800s or 1900s. Somebody had this chess where every time this machine will win. Much later, people found that when they opened the box, there was a human sitting inside the box below the chess game and actually playing it. Right? That is how V0 should be. The purpose of V0 is not to build a great model. The purpose, remember, is to test, am I building the right thing? It is not about am I building the thing rightly. That's a completely different question. A question that a lot of engineers love and often create a mess in the company, and I'll come to this. Okay, another very important part, are you solving the right use case? Uh, this is a very important aspect. Unfortunately, we don't have time for this. I've actually created another framework which describes in a great detail. Take a problem statement, apply this framework, and this framework will tell you uh, is this likely to be a high ROI AI use case or not, right? This discussion itself is around 2 hours. I don't know if anybody here is in Hyderabad. I'll be giving a talk on this in Triple IT Hyderabad on 7th of December. So if anybody wants to come in Triple IT Hyderabad, you can listen. But I'm not going to be able to cover this given the time that was agreed upon earlier, right? So this itself is a good 2 hour discussion. I'm going to skip this completely. Another very important thing a lot of people ask, right? And under, I believe one of the biggest pieces which is missing in today's AI narrative is economics. If you are building a company, which means that you will be evaluated on your P&L, right? How is it possible that you're not looking at AI from a pure financial lens? AI is not a magic wand where no matter where you apply, it will turn into gold. Not happening, right? So this is another paper that we wrote whereby we looked very closely at various facets of AI from a hard P&L lens. This is a paper for a business officer or even a CFO can read, right? So we talk of how we should pick use cases, when to pick, what are the right things to choose, what are the kind of costs that matter, this whole narrative that the GPU cost is going to come down, why we believe, right? We could be wrong as well, but we believe that narrative is not going to play out, right? So again, this is a separate almost 4 hour discussion. I'm humbly very sorry I won't be able to do this today in the interest of time, right? So I'm going to skip this part also. So let's come to the last part, right? And this is what I'm going to talk for next 30 minutes. Your talent strategy for, and it matters big time if AI is the very heart and soul of your business. Okay. Is everyone with me so far? Uh, so some of this we are yet to actually release this. I've given a talk at a bunch of places, or I don't know if our friends at Antler will be open to a couple of other sessions. I don't know. But we'll have to see that part. Okay, so everyone with me. So now we're gonna change gears. We're gonna look purely from the lens of a HR as a talent acquisition, and I'll show you how the graph that we saw has the largest bearing on talent strategy. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for next couple of, and why I believe most people are over obsessed with AI engineers. In my humble opinion, in a AI game, from a talent point of view, Ace is not an AI engineer. Ace is an AI product manager, and I will prove you that. Okay, so those are some of the aspects that we'll be covering in next 30 minutes. Uh, Isha, Neha, are we on track? Hopefully, from a time point of view.
Yeah, Anuj.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so cool. Let's motor on, guys. Okay. A lot of founders straight away, especially in India, you look in India, they all pick undergrad engineers. Okay. Uh, how many of you have seen, worked, or closely follow the Valley ecosystem? And how many of you have seen a lot of engineers actually at least being masters or maybe even PhDs? Why is that we Indians are able to manage with undergrads and they are not? I mean, are we more smarter than them, or is there something that we are missing altogether? Okay. The question to be asked in right, India loves cricket, so why not? Would you, if you were to captain a cricket team, would you ask Dhoni to open, and would you ask Dravid to go in slow overs? Clearly not, right? Look at this graph carefully, right? This graph describes the right way of the right methodology, the right process to build AI system. Can somebody look at this carefully and create a talent strategy for me for different phases? That's the hint. Am I clear with the question? So we saw this graph. What did this graph tell us? It told us the right methodology to develop AI system, right? And we understood using various phases of this, right? So this is O to K, maybe K2, and right, so on and so forth, and to be sorry, I forgot. I don't know why I forgot to label these parts. Right? So for different parts, can you create strategy? Okay, somebody by the name Anuj Gupta itself looks like my alter ego. Prompt engineers all the way up to purple point. Okay, okay, okay. Samya, Samya is saying O to purple, undergrads, purple onwards, MS PhDs. Okay, so let's understand what is each phase. What is O to purple? Quickly assemble a system and just go to the market. Who are the best people in quickly assembling a system? Are all engineers good at it? Or there is a special breed of engineers? What is that special breed of full stack? Okay. Full stack also, you will find a lot of full stack engineers in Googles of the world. Do you think, Ankit, they will do a great job? Good product. So, Suresh, I'll show that you need a product manager all along. Right? Data engineers as well. Okay. Differ of this, Suresh. Who have done 0 to 1 can iterate very fast. Yeah. Uh, okay. So think of people who are amazingly good at hackathons. What is a hackathon? You have a problem statement, you have to create a solution. Right? It is not a great solution. It is not often production ready and all of that stuff, but good enough to demo, right? That is what happened on this. So pick people who are amazingly good at hackathons, right? Go from O to purple overnight. What is one part in O to A that they will be bad at? So what were the things we were supposed to really take care of when we were in O to A? Sorry, O to purple. Will can they take care of everything? What part they can't take care of? So they can't. So they are often very bad at this whole game of metrics and all of that, right? You need somebody to set up the metrics and the implementation very properly. This is where you need an amazing product manager, right? Also, O2 purple is about, are we solving the right problem, right? Are we attacking the right use case? Engineers are amazingly bad at this. Who are amazingly good? Product managers, right? Clear? So this is where you need a product manager. You need a business guy, of course, because you'll do some kind of a selling as well, right? The moment you hit purple, or maybe even before that. If you're amazing at storytelling, why can't you sell out of a PPT itself? You can, right? And you need engineers who are amazing at hackathons, who know, oh, there is a library like this, there is an API. They need to be aware of what all is available that I can quickly. So this is the fast food, right? We are talking of QSRs, not even fast food, I will say, right? Quick service restaurants, right? Build a QSR till here. After that, you need people who can do some fine tuning, this, that, right? Some of these guys can, or normal engineers can, but they'll do. What is then needed is to build data pipelines, a lot of data pipelines and stuff like that. You need people who are good at backend data engineering, right? After that, remember what was this phase about? What was the most important thing? Lot of experimentation and a rigorous evaluation. Undergrads don't even know what is experimentation and what is evaluation. Who are very good? Who will be the best people for this? People who have done MS in machine learning, not MTech. In India, it's called MTech. MTech is just coursework. Somebody who has done a lot of experiments and done rigorous evaluation. So anybody who would have written 1 to 2 research papers would be a great fit. And that is where you find MS in machine learning people here. What was B2M all about? Opening the whole system in its mathematics, the underlying distributions, the underlying equations. Who are amazingly good at? PhDs, right? This is where you need academic collaboration. Bring one of the best academic professors here, see how slow you go, and bring the best hackathon guy here. He'll have no idea what to do. So that is what I meant by the Dhonis and the Dravids. Am I clear? Did I make sense? I'm going to take a pause. Sorry, something happened in my screen. Does this make sense? Okay, now clear, everybody? Okay, now let's come to the engineers a little more in the interest of time. I know it's getting late. So, folks great at a hackathons, just assembling metrics, data set, they are not good at. This is where you need a great PM, right? In the US, in the Valley, you will already start to see trend where there lot of startups have started to pick very. Imagine you bring a great AI leader here. What will he do here? He can't do much, right? But you need some guy to oversee it, right? So this is where you have these uh, very senior AI leaders who act as fractional head of AI. You must have heard this notion, especially in Valley, which is very popular, where they spend a couple of hours with your team every week, just making sure at a high level things are on the track because they understand this whole game very well, right? A to B, who can systematically experiment and evaluate, MS in machine learning, right? In India, unfortunately, there are not a lot of universities who do MS in machine learning. IITs do, but typically every year they don't take more than three, four, five folks. Uh, Triple AT Hyderabad is one place where you can get a lot of amazing folks who are MSN machine learning. P2M, people who can play with underlying mathematics, PhD, postdocs, academic collaboration. Okay, we all understand this. Managing ICs, right? You bring an IC today, go and interview them. How will you build a chatbot? The answer will start from LLM. Most ICs are greatly influenced by SOTA and cutting edge, right? They don't tend to think end to end. This is extremely important. Sorry if there is some IC here, if it hurts you, but this is a reality of it, right? You have to think from a founder's point of view. They give up everything and bet on one idea and then just go for it, right? So for them, it is important to succeed at all costs, right? And they need to know the reality, whether they like it or not, right? You need to make sure that as a founder that your ICs fall in love with the problem and not solution. Understand the raw problem, understand the constraint. I'll give you an example. Take a IC, give him the problem of subtitles in YouTube. That means you have to convert the speech into subtitles and look at what answers you will get. You will get state of the art RAG, this, that, and all. Do you think something like that is going to work? If not, why? Can somebody tell me why a RAG or some very sophisticated solution like that will not work for the problem that I described, which is generating subtitles automatically in YouTube? Sorry, IC means individual contributor. All your engineers are typically ICs. Can somebody tell me why the solution that I propose, which is use some LLM, fine tuning this, that, will not work for the problem? You need to train on error rates to figure out correctness. No. Speech to text is needed rather than text to text. No. Speech to text also, there are some very, very good models, right? There's fundamentally something inherent in the problem that rules all of this out. Many can build the same solution easily. No. You should not think of moat also done from day one, right? Moat happens often in execution. Nipun got it right. Brilliant answer, right? So think you download a subtitle where the subtitle is out of sync with the audio. Look at what a jarring experience you will have. Which means that subtitle generation have to be near real time, not real time, near real time with the audio. Which means your time to prediction is very small, or time, right, overall. Which means you cannot use a large machinery like a tank. I mean, I'm using tank as a general expression for any large model, right? To do this because you have a nanosecond gap here. So you need, so why is that? Because most of them would not even understand the constraint, would not have spent enough time on the problem statement. Okay. Convert, make them convert, give them always the raw business problem, make them convert that into a technical problem statement. Right? Last, don't allow them to use AI unless AI is the last resort. I actually explained this point in great detail when coming to use cases of AI, right? But unfortunately today we didn't have time for all of it. Start with a simple rule-based system if needed. In today's world, this is equivalent to saying that GPT API is in the world. Right? Great point to start. Sorry, sorry. Also remember that a system is far bigger than model, right? Too many ICs are too obsessed with model. Why? They don't think of pre-processing, post-processing, monitoring, maintaining the model, collecting data, feedback loop, incorporating. There are so many elements with which you can improve a system rather than just being model. Why? Because OpenAI says, because Sam Altman says, model doesn't work that way. Model is a part of it. To make a Ferrari fast, The tires, the chassis, the brake, everything matters. Engine matters, no two questions about it. But engine alone does not matter. Okay, am I clear? You Most ICs are not solving your business problem. They are building their CV, whether you like it or not. Right? Which is why I always had that one line for all my ICs printed on their t-shirts every single day. You will give me two systems, one for your CV, one for the production. And if you use this line, you can always cite me and don't forget to give me the credits and the royalty. Okay. Real life AI projects are anything but Kaggle competition. A lot of them come from this Kaggle world where they are often given that they'll be given a great data set and then I'll start working on it. No, you have to start working on the data first, right? Rigorously build complete and comprehensive data. This is a separate topic altogether. Sorry, I won't be able to go here, but maybe this itself requires good 3 4 hour discussion, right? But the example I always give is Michael Phelps won 8 gold medals, 8 Olympic gold medals, right? Any sports person would absolutely love to have a career like that, right? What people don't realize is that he trained for 1800 days without a single break. There wasn't a single day in his life for 5 years where he took a break. That is what that's the kind of effort that leads to Olympic gold medals. In AI, the game, the moat over a period of time always lies in data, 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 and data. Right? I've already given the OpenAI example, the way it was built. Look at a company called Scale.ai. I think the last valuation was $13 billion, if I remember correctly. They are just a data annotation company, nothing else. Nothing else. If they are so big, that means they are getting business. Where are they getting? They are getting business from the OpenAIs and the Teslas of the world. This 3D game simulation, right, which became big. Tesla and a lot of these have used it big time to create virtual scenarios to test their models and systems and cars and all of that stuff. Do rigorous evaluation, right? You should literally be how a sports coach goes with a time clock or stopwatch in his neck. You should have that kind of a persona when it comes to evaluation. Rather than just saying, oh, this model is better than that. How much am I measuring the right? Does it really matter? My model is 5% better than the previous model, but it did not move the business needle. Why? What happened? You should have answer to all these questions. Focus on outcomes, not models. I've already explained this point enough, right? Most experienced AI leaders know their stuff, right? And don't get enamored by CVs. All CVs are made by GPT. Okay? Talk of the real stuff that matters, right? So one example that I give of that is uh, I'm not able to recall the name of this gentleman. So he was the director of Harvard during World War II, right? And uh, US president bought him out of uh, MIT to lead this special project whereby a lot of R&D will be done to build weapons to defeat the German Nazis. I think I'm not able to recall names. Sorry, I'm bad with that. Right. One of the things that he instantly did is that he did not interview these PhDs. He gave them real scenario. While he did interview the PhDs, what I meant is he did not talk of the academic and all of that. He gave them real scenarios from the battles to produce realistic solutions rather than idealistic solutions. That's the point I'm trying to make it here. Sorry, I'm not able to recall the name of this gentleman, but he is one of those guys who actually turned the tide of World War II. One of the reasons. There are 110 reasons why the Allied forces won over the German Nazis. The pragmatic, the practical, the stuff that works, not the theory. You don't need theory in 0 to 1, 1 to 10. Last but not the least, In my humble opinion, if you are not solving the right problem, if you are not building and collecting data, if you don't have the right metrics, if you have no idea about UX in AI, right, then you're going to do extremely bad in the AI game. In my humble opinion, the best person to address this, I have always hired and been extremely finicky about the AI product manager, not a normal product manager. A normal product manager doing AI is not an AI product manager. An AI product manager is a product manager who understands the difference between building stochastic systems and building deterministic systems. AI is about how do you, or product problem in AI is how do you deliver world class experience while your underlying system is stochastic, which means it will keep on making mistakes. Now, that's not in your hand. You can't go and shout on your engineer, why is this not 100% correct? It is not going to happen. But that requires a different art altogether, right? You take any good team, and I will show you a solid AI product manager in it, right? As a matter of fact, I don't know how many of you know this, but I think last year Netflix put out a JD where it offered up to 900K, a whopping 900K salary in Valley, right? A product manager never gets this kind of a number. You typically get 200K, 150K, a whopping 900K for AI product managers. Why? Because it's such a rare skill. In my humble opinion, be ultra crazy about this guy. Right? And we can have separate discussions on this, I mean, offline. You show me any solid AI team in India, and I'll show you a great AI product manager over there. Not a product manager who is doing AI. I don't consider them AI product managers. I'm sorry if I offend someone, right? I told upfront some of my suggestions will be borderline obnoxious, pardon me, but this is, I've seen this happening again and again and again and again. Okay, I'm just going to touch this point. I'm going to end with this. A lot of people have this head of AI. What should head of AI be like? A PhD, a MBA, or something else? I have an argument on something else altogether, but I'm not going to present it here, right? Uh, I want all of us to just take a minute, right? Why not? It's been a fairly serious session, right? And maybe let's listen to this. I'm gonna turn off my Bluetooth. Okay, let's YouTube video. Am I audible?
Yes, Anuj.
Okay. Sorry, Neha. Sorry, Isha, if I have kept you along for longer time.
Okay, that's
Ah, Harry, my boy, is beginning to worry. Someone with us, actually. Wrong Weasley, sir. I'm dead all full of potions. A menace, actually, so I'm probably just gonna. Nonsense. We'll sort you out. Any friend of Harry's is a friend of mine. Get your books out. Sorry, sir. I haven't actually got my book yet, and all's wrong. Not to worry. Get what you want from the cupboard. Now, as I was saying, I prepared some concoctions this morning.
Is my screen visible?
Might be.
We can see the video, Anuj.
Ah, sorry. Then something has gone wrong. Sorry. Pardon.
Our serum. It's a truth-telling serum, and that would.
Right. Give me just a minute. So we are almost at the end of it. Just three more slides and we'll be done. Right. But I want you to remember this video for the longest time if you can. Also helps to lighten up all the heavy talk that I've done. Is this visible now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Ah, Harry, my boy, is beginning to worry. Thought someone with us, I see. Wrong Weasley, sir. I'm dead all full of potions. A menace, actually, so I'm probably just gonna. Nonsense. We'll sort you out. Any friend of Harry's is a friend of mine. Get your books out. Sorry, sir, I haven't actually got my book yet. The mill's wrong. Not to worry, get what you want from the cupboard. Now, as I was saying, I prepared some concoctions this morning. Any ideas what these might be? Yes, Miss
Granger, sir. That one there's a serum. It's a truth-telling serum. And that one, downward 20th. The most powerful love potion in the world. It's rumored to smell differently to each person according to what attracts them. For example, I smell freshly mown grass and parchment and spearmint toothpaste.
Now, amortentia doesn't create actual love. That would be impossible, but it does cause powerful infatuation or obsession. For that reason, it is probably the most dangerous potion in this room.
Sir, you haven't told us what's in that one.
Yes, you see before you, ladies and gentlemen, a curious potion known as Felix Felicis, which it is more commonly referred to as
Liquid luck.
yes, Miss Granger, liquid luck. Desperately tricky to make, disastrous should you get it wrong. Once separate, you will find that all of your endeavors succeed. So, this is what I offer each of you today. One tiny vial of liquid luck for the student who, in the hour that remains, manages to brew an acceptable draught of living death. Recipes for which can be found on page 10 of your books. I should point out, however, only once did a student manage to brew a potion of sufficient quality to claim this prize. Nevertheless, good luck to you all. Let the brewing commence.
So I want all of us to watch this very carefully now. Sorry, this is slightly longer, 4 minutes, but I think it's worth.
Do that. Don't cut it. No. The instructions specifically say to cut.
Brilliant. It's perfect. So perfect, I dare say one prop would kill us all. Here we are then, as promised. One vial of Felix Felicis. Congratulations. Use it well.
Okay, so here is the question, right? What did we see, right? Slughorn gave the task of brewing a particular potion. All the students had books. All they had to do was open the book, replicate what is there in the book. Yet, it's only the Harry Potter who got it right, not anybody else. What is the point? Why why do you think Harry Potter is the only one who actually got it right? While you guys bring up the answer, I'll just kind of sorry, my screen for some reason suddenly becomes weird. Uh, share, screen share. Okay, hope my slides are back now. Hope the slideshow is back. Okay, quick question. Why did only Harry Potter got the potion right? No, so the luck is the prize, the liquid luck. So Dhruvika says didn't rely only on the book. Did he use his own instinct or knowledge? Okay, my alter ego, Anuj says somebody had already gone through all the process and knew what worked. Harry just got the advice, right? Now, if you look in AI, the point is if you look from the rest of the class point of view, if we call them AI founders, AI executives, whatever you want, they tried it, did not work out, they are likely to call it a snake oil, right? Harry tried it, he followed those minor points, minor changes, but crucial changes, and got to it. Today's that is how building AI systems is. In my humble opinion, if you look at the big tech, they understand this amazingly well, right? But when was the last time Domino's publicly gave the recipe of its oregano? Doesn't happen, right? They have deliberately put the world on this steroids of model first narrative, right? Which is the published book, which is the snake oil that it often leads to, right? That's the point I wanted to point out, right? Uh, Sorry, not again. Right. Let's go next. Next. Okay. So what did, sorry, not snip, right? Tiny details matter, right? I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Anuj.
Okay. So biryani is all about those little spices. Again, going back to my example, right? Chicken and rice are necessary but not sufficient. You remove the spices, you will not get biryani. Again, going back to the Boeing example, right? Engine is crucial, absolutely necessary. But engine alone will not take you anywhere. What you need to build is aeroplanes. In a lot of way, we are AI world is like similar to the 1920s where aviation is just taken off, right? It's one in a lifetime opportunity. Absolutely no two doubts about it. But it's not just about engines. So as founders, I want it will be great. This is how I summarize for any of my clients and executives that I speak to. In AI, the devil lies in details. So does the success, right? I hope by now I have given you enough glimpse to prove this, right? Like I said, overall total material is almost more than even 2 3 weeks of time. Of course, that's not possible. Yeah, that's my time. Thank you so much. I'll take questions. What are the details, Jinan? So we saw some of those stuff, right? I talked about the right process of building, the right way of hiring a talent, the common mistakes, the over obsession. I gave some of those spices. Like I said, I can't give all of them today. I need more than 3 weeks for that. But I gave you enough, just enough flavor of it. Do you work with pre-state? Yes, we can have separate discussions on Ankit. Keen to understand name model. Yeah, we can have separate discussions, folks. Is this session recorded, accessible later? I think Isha or Neha can answer that better.
Yeah, we can send the recording across after the session.
Cost is a separate discussion. I mean, I can't just comment on one part of it, right? But like I said, it comes much later. In the demo that I played also earlier, we also did cost optimization in a big way, but only after we knew that the only barrier left is cost. All other things are taken care of, right? So in science, you first do uh, possibility, feasibility, then optimality. Possibility is it even possible? Feasible is with a decent amount of resources, is it possible? Optimality is what is the best way of doing it. Optimality always comes much later. Customers expect to have dramatic improvements. Yes, yes, that will always happen, Nipun. Sorry, Naman. Model is not the only way to do it. Like I said, there are multiple ways to improve. At the same time, you first have to show that the needle moves. That is what a business leader care about. You keep on giving as much accelerator as you want. If the needle on the speedometer is not going to move, you're not going to drive the car. Right? Just as we behave, our clients also behave. Right? Of course, you also have to do as part of all of this, also have to educate your customers, right? But you first have to give them the dope, and the dope is the value proposition. You have to show that we have, we can, we will, we have moved the model. Now it's a journey together, friend. Let's walk this together. Why not use the time of the video upload? Yes, so Abu, now over a period of time, they did find that for standard videos, you can do all of that, right? But imagine someone uploads a video just now. Now, and most content creators never upload titles. But from an end user experience, I still want the subtitles, right? So there, the real timeliness is still needed. But for the ones that are already uploaded and all that, you can process this with far better models, which can be slow because all of this is offline. Absolutely the point, right? But that doesn't serve all the scenarios. That's the point I'm making. I hope that's clear. AI product management, to be very honest, is a different beast. Uh, we can have a separate discussion on that. I've actually written a write up on why you need AI product management completely, right? And I have part of a lot of ecosystems in US and Europe. The kind of AI product managers I've seen, I've had the fortune of speaking to the guy who created Spotify's recommendation system back in 2013-14. I mean, the kind of insights they have, the kind of maturity understanding they have. You can't have a product manager doing AI. Sorry if it hurts someone, but that's the reality. Product management for AI requires a very hard reboot because product management is about giving a super class experience to your end user. But how do you drive when your engine keeps uh, topping or heating up once in a while, right? How do you create a Formula One car when your engine is not up to the mark? It is not 100% correct. It will never be 100% correct, right? So it requires a completely different thinking altogether. Earlier, if a system is not giving an output, it's a bug. In AI, it's the very nature of those systems. What do you do? Every prompt in an LLM, not really. A lot of LLMs have been brought down. There are very narrow LLMs that have come. Again, the definition of LLM itself has become very large in itself. Right. So there are flavors that you can run on your mobiles also in today's time, right? So yeah, exactly what they just also said. Right. Sorry, there were a lot of questions. I completely respect each one of them. But you would understand that 227 questions, even if I start answering each of them, that itself will take a couple of hours easily. So, I mean, uh, again, I hope at a broad level it makes sense, right? Remember that video that I showed from Harry Potter. That's the bottom line. And the reason I'm also wanting to show is it's about magic potions. AI is about magic. We already have this amazing book by these people from Princeton on snake oil, which is why I used all those analogies, right? So I would suggest one of the things I can suggest, right? Again, I'm not trying to promote self, but this is why the very reason we wrote that book is look at the book that we wrote, which is this practical natural language processing. It does not talk of any LLM and all that. It was written in a pre-LLM era. What it teaches is not to how to build a model. It is not for an engineer. It is for how do you conceive and how do you execute AI projects and products. Right? It is very relevant for a product manager. It is very relevant for a VP. It is very relevant for a head of business. Any or and every one of them can read that book, right? And that was the prime reason that we wrote, reviewed the book. And I think that's the prime reason why the book, even after 4 years in such a fast changing world of AI, where literally knowledge gets outdated every day. I think the book even today finds a lot of relevance. So that's one suggestion I can give, maybe.
Anuj, I think we're over time, so we
Yeah,
can.
yeah, I understand, right? So, and let's take a minute and please thank our friends at Antler, Isha, Neha, Gauri, and everyone for setting up this whole session, especially Isha and Neha and all those from Antler who are still around and made made it possible. There are no videos, otherwise I would have loved to take a combined photo. I don't know, Isha, if we can do anything around that, please. But thank you so much. You can always reach out to us. I'm there on LinkedIn. I'm there. I might be slow in responding, but I will be in Bangalore, I think, coming Saturday, Sunday as well. So would love to catch up. We can also do, all of us can catch up in Indranagar if you all guys are open to that. Maybe Isha, we can create a WhatsApp group and maybe we can do a offline meetup as well. I will love to do that. It's always good to see faces and connect to faces rather than just anonymous people.
For sure, Anuj, we run a community for founders, so I'll reach out to you and see if we can set something up while you're here in Bangalore.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, everyone,
Thank you.
for
Bye.
hosting
Bye.
time. Thank you so much, Anuj. Bye bye.